Hello, everyone. I'm San, and you're listening to San's podcast. How are you all doing lately? Are you okay? I hope things have been gentle for you. Actually, even if they haven't been so gentle, that's okay. Life has its ups and downs. The important thing is that today we can be here together, chatting, listening, and sharing. It's been over a month since I last recorded a podcast. I've chosen to do quite a few things recently, and one of them was spending time with family. I celebrated my birthday surrounded by the people I love. I'm getting older, but I feel like I'm getting younger, more childish even. I don't know why, maybe it's what people call a second spring. Even though I'm obviously not yet 30, still in my prime. But anyway, I like this feeling of feeling younger and younger. I wonder if those of you nearing 30 share this same feeling. Every time a birthday comes around, we're like children, wanting to blow out candles and make wishes. Today, I really want to talk to you about friends, about friendship, and whether it's okay if we live a life without friends. And if from childhood until we grow up, we never have a single close friend, does that matter? And what does that say about us? San has talked about love, work, effort, and many other topics. And today, I'm returning to one of the relationships I think is very important: friendship. I wonder what your personalities are like. Everyone has a different personality, which leads to very different ways of making friends. Some people are very introverted. When they're in a class or a group, for example, they speak little and share little. Often, they might have fewer friends, and the friends they do have tend to be more talkative and proactive in conversation. And conversely, there are people who are very outgoing. They talk a lot. They're often quite cheerful and humorous in a group, so they find it easy to make friends and have many. What about you? Have you ever thought about how you connect with others? Are you someone who finds it hard to connect, hard to talk, especially when meeting new people? Maybe you're very shy. If you need tips on connecting with people, maybe I'll meet you in future podcast episodes. But today, I want to talk about living without friends. Of course, for me, it's not like I can easily get to know anyone I meet. It depends on the people I encounter, whether I feel we share the same energy, whether there's a sense of connection. And I don't force myself to connect with anyone. Sometimes, at work, I also connect with some really interesting people. There was a time I participated in a talk show and met a woman, a dermatologist. It was our first time meeting, but for the entire hour-long journey from Saigon to Dong Nai, we talked nonstop, telling each other so many things. We both felt a strong connection. After the show, we kept in touch and met up again. We confided in each other about quite a lot. She's also older than me, has a family, children, so I felt there was so much I could learn and share with her. She also told me that her husband, he's someone who almost has no friends. Firstly, he's too busy with work because he's a very talented doctor. And she also shared that such talented people are very selective about making friends and connecting with others. They don't connect with just anyone, they have a certain filter, and of course, they have their priorities in life. She said that he spends most of his time with family and work. After all, the medical field is very demanding. And actually, she said he doesn't like to meet friends who don't share his interests. Of course, he has a best friend, but that best friend lives far away, so they only meet occasionally, maybe once a year or for special occasions. But for most of his daily life, he rarely has friends around. Let me tell you about the time before I moved to Saigon. I think that was a very lonely period for me. I lived in a city with many familiar faces, many friends, many relationships. However, I felt like I couldn't connect with anyone. I felt like at that stage, no one could truly listen to me. If you ask me if I was okay during that time, I'd say not really. And when I felt that I no longer had a connection with a place or the people there, perhaps that was when I should seek a new environment, a new space, a place where I could find more connection. Back then, it was like escaping, fleeing from loneliness to a new city. But you know what? When I arrived in the new city, the loneliness became even more pronounced. Because you know the feeling of abandoning all familiar relationships and coming to a new city where you don't know anyone. Actually, I did know someone vaguely. Back then, I lived with an older sister we'd known since childhood. But of course, I had to build everything from scratch: work, relationships, daily habits. So many things happened during that time. And that childhood friend, we only met occasionally. Most of the time, I just focused on work. Colleagues would meet, For example, for lunch or after work, they might hang out or go to parties. But if you ask about genuine connection, I felt like during that period, I had no one. I had no one. But really, I think everyone has their own periods to focus on their lives. And for me, that was a necessary time for me to focus more on myself, on my life. Other relationships still existed, but they were just daily connections, superficial. So I couldn't share everything in my life. And actually, who do you trust enough to share everything with if you're not close or don't have a deep connection, right? Coming to a new city where everything is new, of course, you have to get used to loneliness. And San thinks that living without friends is perfectly fine, everyone. It's completely okay. It's not as bad as we think. Later, I think it was thanks to that period of loneliness that I realized what a true friend I needed in my life would be like, and it was a huge lesson. At the same time, I also realized another thing. Not everyone will be able to accompany me through all the journeys I take. The only person who can accompany me is myself. Even family or loved ones have their own journeys, and they can be there behind the scenes, a support system, emotional backing, for example. But sometimes, you can't share all your thoughts and feelings. You'll have to keep them to yourself, and you yourself will be the one accompanying you throughout that long journey. Of course, it's really lucky if we have friends by our side. Someone to occasionally go for coffee with, enjoy delicious food, for example, or someone who can stay up until midnight to confide in about love, friends, family, that's wonderful. And then there are people who can travel together, explore the world, and yeah, do crazy and silly things together. That's great. But that doesn't mean that if you have no one, your life becomes terrible, or you yourself are terrible. Many people think that because they're terrible, no one wants to be friends with them. San doesn't think that's true, because in reality, San doesn't think anyone is completely bad or completely good. Every person has their own good and bad qualities. Someone might not be good to me, but they could be good to someone else, so they'll have friends who play with them. And I'm the same. Some people like me, some don't. Some I'm good to, others I don't care about. So it's not necessarily that you're bad and no one wants to be friends with you. It can come from many things. It can come from your upbringing, your personality. Some people genuinely don't want to connect with others, they just want to be alone. And of course, if they only want to be alone, they won't need this podcast, because they already know they're perfectly fine on their own, and they focus a lot on their inner self or their life goals more than surrounding relationships. However, if you feel that you really want friends but you don't have any, and you feel very lonely, that you live without friends and you're very lonely, then I want to share a few things with you. Embrace this time of loneliness and let everything happen naturally. Spend a lot of time nurturing your life. A fragrant flower garden naturally attracts bees and butterflies. Just like me during that time, I just focused on work. On weekends, I still spent time learning more, reading books and articles, and making videos for YouTube. It's thanks to those awkward times that I now have 2 YouTube channels of my own, right? That's a long journey. And also, as I focused on my work, I was introduced to better jobs, moved to better environments, and gradually I met better people. Some of them I still keep in touch with now. Maybe we don't meet often, but there was a time when we were very close and shared a lot. And what I want to say is, don't doubt yourself, thinking you're not good enough or talented enough to have friends. It's simply that sometimes you need to have patience to know what kind of friend you need, how you need to open your heart, how you need to behave, communicate, and treat everyone. There will be times when we are alone. That's also perfectly fine, because maybe everyone has their own choices, their own focus. And during that time, you also need to have your own focus to make your life better. And so, you will meet friends. As for truly close friends, perhaps it requires even more time. It needs nurturing from both sides and a lot of understanding because, in reality, no one is perfect. I myself sometimes get very angry with my friends, even if they've been with me for a long time, but some of their flaws make me wonder if I should continue this relationship, if I should trust this person. But looking at it from other angles, they are also very good to me. There are things they care about, they share, and they are there for me during the times I need them most. So, San thinks that to have friends in life, perhaps we shouldn't hope for a perfect friendship, that they must be our soulmate, someone who always encourages, supports, cheers us on, and always brings us all the best things. Because that seems very difficult. Everyone has their own thoughts, as well as their flaws, their pressures in life, and no one is perfect. So, letting go of the expectation of a perfect friendship or relationship will help us have relationships more easily. That doesn't mean we should be indiscriminate in making friends and, well, making friends with people who make us worse. San doesn't think that way. It's just that as I get older, I realize that wanting and demanding attention from others, especially wanting it to be perfect for me, is just my own selfishness. Instead, I will find people I feel I cherish, I like, I respect, and I want to make their lives better. I want to share with them. I want to give first instead of just clinging to the hope of receiving for myself. From then on, I find that relationships become much better. And maybe two people don't need to share absolutely everything in life with each other. Just say what you feel comfortable with, that's it. Recently, I watched a very good movie called Blue Island, and I really like it because it shares many meaningful stories about life. In it, there's also a story about the friendship between two girls, one very beautiful and one not so beautiful. People often tease the less beautiful girl, calling her the princess's handmaiden, the princess being the other girl. And they had many misunderstandings. Both had points they weren't happy or comfortable with each other about, but they didn't speak up. But ultimately, they both spoke directly with each other, and it's true that no one is perfect. Friends can sometimes treat us a bit unfairly. But if we look at the whole long journey and see the true affection, we can forgive each other and continue that relationship. I really like that movie. You can watch it to better understand what I'm sharing, because sometimes my words can't be as good and profound as that movie. Ultimately, I still feel wonderful having friends in my life, even if no relationship in this life is perfect. Sometimes, those very friends are the ones who make me sad. But with love comes hate, with affection comes annoyance. If it weren't an important person, perhaps there would never be any sulking. So even now, I still think it's wonderful to have friends in life, to grow up together, to go through difficulties and joys together. Sometimes to curse at each other, but then sometimes to come back and play together. And after more than 10 years, still keep in touch, still text, still meet, and each time we meet, it's like we've never been apart. So San just wants to say that if you're looking for a friend, perhaps you should first be a friend to yourself. Talk to yourself first. Make yourself feel that you are treated well, and these things can bring good energy around you. And it's not just about waiting until you have friends to treat others well. Sometimes, if you can help anyone around you, just do it. Maybe it's a stranger to you, for example, but if you can help with something, even small, it's very precious. Or when you accidentally meet someone on a trip, a new person, sometimes just relax and go on a journey together without overthinking, calculating, or judging them too much. Everything happens very naturally, and friendship is like that, I think. There are many coincidences in our lives, and it's simply that if we just open our hearts and relax a little, everything will be lighter. Don't put too much emphasis on thinking, oh, this person has to be perfect, this person has to be truly profound. But simply that there's a connection, a mutual consideration, and a desire to start a relationship together and go together for the long term. About friendship, perhaps San wants to share more with you, and I guess we'll meet again in future podcast episodes. But for today, San is a little sleepy. It's around 10:30 p.m. now. My mom is visiting lately, so I've been going to bed quite early. Actually, I'm not usually someone who sleeps late, it's just earlier lately, so I also wake up earlier in the mornings. San really hopes that after this podcast, you'll have a little more to share about friendship. Of course, there are many differences between student friendships and adult friendships. And if you want, I'll talk about that with you on a beautiful day in the near future. Thank you all very much, and I'll see you in the next podcast episodes. Good night.